One thing you might need to do to the clips that you've made for your science film is go in later on in the edit and color correct them to make sure the color is the same across the entire film. So let's have a look at how we do that in Final Cut Pro. I've got some clips laid out here already, some drone footage, some B-roll and the likes, and there's going to be a few that I need to adjust to make sure they look like they did on the day. One specifically is this one. So I'm going to drag it down and in. And that's something to think about when you're making color corrections is you're not trying to add stylistic choices to it or grade them in any way. You're literally trying to correct them to make sure they look like they did on the day and that they match each other. And then you can go in later on and add that kind of stylistic choice to it if you want. So for this one, we've got a few different options. So let's have a look at somewhere through here. You can see that Tamara wasn't quite ready and I asked it to look up into the mountains, all stoic-like. For this, we're going to look at this button here. And in Final Cut, if you don't know what a button does, then you can hover over it and it'll tell you what it does. It says choose color correction and audio enhancement options. So I'll click on it and I'm given a few options: balance color, match color, and show color inspector. If I hit balance color, that'll automatically kind of decide what it should look like and make that choice for you. Final Cut normally does a pretty good job of this, and actually iMovie does as well, but I'm always impressed by it. But that's the automatic option. That might work for you. Let's undo that and click on match color. See what it gives us there. And in this one, it's asking us to match the color to a different clip. And if you got two clips right next to each other, then it's often good to match the color between the two so that it looks the same. So maybe I want to match the color to this one. Maybe these two clips are next to each other, and I'll click on it. And then once we apply the match, we come back to this, and it's tried to make it look like the other clip, and it's uncanny. Like it always gets me how good that is at matching those colors. I'm going to go backwards and undo that, and I'm going to come to this one again and go to show color inspector. And this will give me the color inspector up here where I can change exposure, saturation, and color. So I can globally choose to up the exposure or the brightness of this entire thing, or I can do it specifically on the highlights, on the midtones, and on the shadows as well, and raise the exposure level of all of those. I can do the same thing with saturation, where I make this look, the colors pop more in all of this. I can choose just to do it in the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows, but I can make that. And a good thing to do with these is just go a bit wild. It's non-destructive, so you can always reverse it later on or undo, but just have a go at this, going back and forth and say, like, how much saturation do I want? Maybe I want this much. And then the important one for this particular clip is the color, and specifically the white balance, specifically her face and the skin tones. That's what I'm always looking at when I'm trying to color correct is, does the skin of this person look like it does in real life? So I can adjust the color values of the midtones by doing this, and perhaps I'll bring it down a little bit down here to make her skin look a bit more natural and make these whites look a bit more natural as well. So that's a really simple way of doing it with the color inspector or auto matching it. There is also the option then of going a little bit more advanced, and we won't get into this here, but it's good for you to know you have the option of coming up to window and then workspaces and then color and effects. And what this will do is it'll give you a bunch of different options of how to do this, not only in the color inspector, but it'll give you all these things as well, these vector scopes and RGB overlays and the likes. You can really get into it there, and it also gives you effects down behind where I am, down in here. Once you've color corrected, you can go in and add these effects on top. Some of them are really handy, like noise reduction and the likes. Some of them are a little bit less handy, like 50s TV and age paper. But perhaps that's something that you're going for within your color correction and color grading. But it's important to remember that with your color correction, it isn't going in and adding those stylistic choices off the bat. Color correct it first. If you can, get that color correct in camera. Choose your white balance properly and your exposure properly on the day, because you can kind of change it in the edit, but it's always better to do it in the camera first. And then once you've color corrected and got it to look like it did on the day, then you can go in afterwards. If you want to add a stylistic choice to that, you can do it too. But color correction is super important, getting all those colors to match up through all the clips and make sure it looks like it did on the day. And that's how you do it in Final Cut Pro.